Oh, hello, yes. Well, 'tis God's day, tisn't tit? Yes, 'tis. Anyway, it's enough of that. Today we've had, well, yesterday certainly we had a lot of continuing fallout from Ricky Jones and his, despicable activities, which he definitely needed to be banged up for a day and a half longer than Lucy Connelly, who is now the benchmark for apparently any sentencing rules in the UK. Commit murder has to be longer than Lucy Connelly. Littering has to be, well, probably more than Lucy Connelly, because we all know that she did nothing wrong whatsoever, even though she pleaded guilty to an offence. And as I say, on a regular basis, we will see when she comes out what an absolute martyr and saint that she will be. But various people have managed to get themselves into a little bit of a tizzy over this, and perhaps rightly so. They obviously are calling for a complete and utter change to our legal system. Very, very good idea. We did have this from Chris Phillip, MP. He was the Shadow Home Secretary, so he's a guy that knows something about going across to France and annoying foreigners so that they throw bottles at him. It's good work if you can have it, but I guess he's on holiday. I guess it's a sort of busman's holiday from, well, people in this country throwing bottles at him, which of course they would never do because he's always right about everything. Anyway, it is astonishing that Labour councillor Ricky Jones, who was caught on video calling for throats to be slit, is let off scot-free, whereas Lucy Connelly, there she is, got 31 months from prison for posting something no worse. The development of two-tier justice is becoming increasingly alarming. Yes, it is. And of course, every reasonable person that isn't a communist would agree with that. Except that, well, there was a problem. Certain conservative communists did indeed disagree with him. We had Dominic Grieve, who might sort of ring bells with you as being, well, some sort of like senior Tory who's perhaps should have a level of respect in the party, but apparently he's now joined Lenin and the rest of them. So we get this from the notorious now traitor. Your post is quite astonishing. You either believe in jury trial or you do not. For as long as I can remember, the Conservative Party has seen it as a key part of our freedom under law. If so, then you have to accept the right of a jury to bring in a verdict in which you might disagree. You call it two-tier justice and try to blame the Labour government for something that you know or ought to know has nothing to do with them. That is the hallmark of a rabble-rouser, not a shadow Home Secretary. Yes, so you can obviously expect him to be shuffled off to one side before the next election. Hooray, because we don't need such traitorous things, do we? But our usual batch of commentators have managed to get themselves into a little bit of a tizzy in and around the law at the moment, because lots of things that they were arguing for last year, they're now deciding that might not be such a good idea. And, perhaps the primary exhibit of this is everyone's favourite non-racist, because obviously everyone just loves his acting instead. Yeah, whenever he's going to do some in the future. Never. Lawrence Fox, who posted this up. After a mere 7 minutes of deliberation, the Ricky Jones jury returned to deliver a not guilty verdict. And what he's posted up is a photograph of members of the jury, apparently. Except I'm guessing that they aren't actually the jury, or at least, all of them, because, there's only about half there. But I think what Loza has done there is that he's just got a random photograph of some brown people who he doesn't have any problems with at all, and is pretending that that's the jury, because if you have a jury in London, then you wouldn't get a fair trial, which is why Loza Fox is wanted jury trial in London. Anyway, he does have a solution to that, thankfully. We get this. Don't know about you, but I don't want to be judged by foreigners. Yeah, absolutely. I want a British judge, preferably a good one. Come on to that in a second. White juries for white people. Brown juries for brown people. Them is the woke rules. Yes, which is obviously very sensible because, as a wokeist myself, that's certainly something that I'm very, very keen on. I think if you commit murder or have allegedly committed murder and your name is Alan, then we should just get a trial by a jury of Allans. It would only be fair, or something similar. But you see, some of you might think that was a bit racist of Lawrence Fox to demand, that people of the same colour judge you. And obviously it isn't, because we all know he's definitely not a racist. He really isn't. But it got me thinking to, all of that basic idea of what exactly might happen the next time that some nefarious communist decides to take him to court, completely wrongly, and And he's faced with a jury trial in London because, well, I guess if you got a bunch of white people in London, there is a good chance that they wouldn't exactly do what he wants. And I guess in that case, it would definitely be the problem of the judge because, as we well know, all judges or any judge that comes out with a sentencing rule which deviates from the Lucy Connelly base standard by a day and a half must be a member of the wokist Communist Party. And we have had that indeed with the slit their throats trial because apparently the woman reads The Guardian occasionally and she once sat next to somebody who voted Labour. So obviously we can't have her either, yes. We need a politicised jury. It would be a very, very good idea because I can't see any problems with having a bunch of people that are appointed by a particular faction of, right-wingers because they all believe in free speech, that would cause any problems whatsoever. Certainly if you look at these things historically, like Germany in the 1930s and 1940s, only a few of their judges were hung at the end of the war, so that should be absolutely fine. Yes, but the whole free speech merchants, of course, are screaming blue murder about this, at the same time as demanding that, presumably, people are allowed to say things about slitting throats because that's free speech. I don't know. You could codify this into law, but it is a double-edged sword. And what these people are really complaining about isn't necessarily what one particular person or another particular person posted up, but the mere fact that they have people that don't agree with them. And they can't really deal with that because having reached, a certain level in their life, like, being post-pubescent, they no longer can deal with a world that isn't entirely tailored to their needs. And talking of free speech merchants, and indeed people that are always right about everything, yesterday we had Graham Linehan, who got a slot in the Daily Telegraph, perhaps inevitably, moaning about how dreadful everything is. And he does manage to do this a great deal because even though he's been cancelled so many times I've lost count, he still manages to crop up every week or two being given interviews by people about what a victim he is. And in this case, it's that evil brilliant person J.K. Rowling, apart from when she does the wrong thing. Yeah, J.K. Rowling never defended me against transmob. Oh dear. Father Ted Creator says author's silence over his cancellation made him feel isolated and toxic. Oh dear God. You see, personally, I would have thought that the thing that would make Graham feel isolated and toxic was, the fact that he's basically isolated himself by being completely out there and the kind of things that he says, which are, just a bit toxic. What with the whole, labelling people as paedophiles, like me, for example. He likes doing things like that. He doesn't actually have a lot of evidence about that. It's just the things that he likes doing. If you tune into Twitter at 2 o'clock in the morning, you will see loads of stuff from Graham Linehan where he just calls everybody a paedophile. And yet, oddly, he's the victim. It's dreadful, dreadful. Oh, poor man. Anyway, he has, of course, been very much radicalised by the sorts of people around him, and it is wonderful to see that he's now changed his mind about every single issue and become a right-winger, and it is gratifying to see him posting up stuff which is very, very pro the Israeli state. Again, you can understand why people really, really want to be very close to him, and I do hope that his trial later on, I think in a couple of months' time, really goes his way. But inevitably, if it doesn't, it'll be because of brown people and woke judges, or maybe paedophiles. Who can tell? Gotta love these people. Thank God they're not racists, eh? Yes. Can you imagine if any of this crew actually got into a position where they could start making the rules? I mean, they'd end up looking like the Reform Party manifesto. Oh, never mind. Yes. Anyway, I'm looking forward to a bit later on today to Hi, I'm Peter Whittle with his latest piece, which apparently is an in-depth investigation as to why Bournemouth is now a hellhole, no-go zone for anyone like him. Apparently he's going to be reporting from Bournemouth, which is a certain level of contradiction that I don't think we should possibly query. Anyway, that's probably what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, because I've been doing a bit of digging on Bournemouth's crime rate. And anyway, do have a lovely Sunday if you can do. Do remember to go to church. Do remember to, take on board all those Christian values and then throw them out the window because you get paid to be a grifter. Nobody can explain Dan Wootton to me. Why exactly is it that Dan Wootton's okay, even though Calvin Robinson thinks he's a sinner? I don't know. I need somebody to explain that to me. Tricky, isn't it?